So, Julia Rose, the Instagrammer, changes the Hollywood sign to Holly Boob. Country singer Michael Wallen is canceled forever. And The Bachelor runner-up or leading runner is about to get canceled. Cancel culture is on fire. Let's talk about it. It's Rob Nelson Live. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Wednesday night midweek mashup of Rob Nelson Live. Thank you all for joining Facebook, Reddit, YouTube, Instagram, wherever you're coming from. We like it. We keep it interactive. I go off, you go off at me, or sometimes for me, and we just stir the conversation up. I always want to take it one next level up. So tonight, it's cancel culture. Well, we've all been talking a lot about cancel culture. I mean, that ain't no news, right? Cancel culture has been around forever, and it's just getting more and more and more. But I want to take cancel culture somewhere a little bit different today. But let's start with what's happened. So there's an Instagrammer. Her name is Julia Rose. She's got 5 million followers, and she's got a business called Shag Mag, which is kind of like it's like a Playboy for Instagrammers or influencers. Basically, it shows influencers in really sexy looks and sometimes half naked. So think of it, like I said, as Playboy for influencers. So Julia Rose is canceled on Instagram. Instagram pulls her account down. And she's pissed. She's got 5 million followers and 1 million on her business page. That's 6 million followers. She's pissed because she thinks she hasn't violated any content standards. She's like, I'm no different than Playboy. So what she does is she goes out and she changes the Hollywood sign to say this. So we got some pictures of all this stuff. We got Julia Rose, who's, we got some pictures, Crafty. So there's Julia Rose flipping off the cameras. And if you look behind, it says Holly Boob. So they went up and changed the sign. They changed they changed it. They put a B instead of the D in. And that's real. That's not Photoshopped. She changed it and got arrested. Just like that. There she is being walked down. And she posted a fun Instagram or Twitter post about it. She's like, this is the day we got an Instagram post there. This is the day I changed the Hollywood sign. Nope, not that. But that's all right. So she puts it up on Instagram, kind of proud that she did it. Now, and the cops are like, this is a terrible thing to do. And the truth is, everyone thought at first it was just some stunt. Someone, remember, like 2007, someone changed the sign. She's like, no, it wasn't just a stunt. She's like, it was a stunt. She's like, but it was a stunt to get the attention. She wanted to get the attention of the head of Instagram. She was like, I'm pissed that my content gets censored when it shouldn't. So here's what she said. She said, my product is nearly identical to that of Playboy's, and my content may be even considered safer than what Playboy's has been allowed to publish on your platform. I want to know how they are picking and choosing which accounts to disable and why. So this is where this is going. Hold on. Let's hold off on that other one for a sec, Crafty. This is why this is relevant, because again, cancel culture has really been driven, and we've talked about it. It gets this left-right divide, right? It's like conservatives are like, we're being canceled. And I'm not going to get into whether conservatives are canceled more than liberals. I mean, I've said I think they are. There's an NYU study that came out that says they're not. The study was funded by like billionaires like George Soros and stuff, who are more on the left side of things, and reinforces and I think Facebook was even part of it, reinforces their view that we're not being unfair in who we're canceling. But let's leave that aside for a second, because my issue's always been, I'm not taking a side that I care like conservatives are getting canceled. It's not political to me. It's about the effect of canceling. So now you have this woman, Julia Rose, who is certainly no, pro-Trumper or QAnon or Republican. She's got a magazine called, Shag Mag. I mean, it is influencers half naked. Like, and her point is, so she's not a right winger. Her point is, I'm being canceled This was the Jung Squad. I don't know what the Jung Squad is. You're going to have to tell me, but share with me. So she's pissed that she's being canceled. And let's put up that other quote, Crafty, because what she said I thought was really interesting. She's upset about the relationship and says, I think this affects all creators. Now, she's referring to artistic creators, obviously, more than political creators per se, but I'm going to expand that it affects everybody. The more we allow these platforms to censor us, the more they will continue to do so. There needs to be more communication between the platforms and the creators. And she goes on to say, I believe women should be able to express themselves in a safe and justified way without being censored and shut down because of their body. So this is interesting because her point really is that there's been a whole discussion about sex workers using social media platforms and I don't get into the whole thing. The libertarian in me, like I don't think we should make prostitution illegal. I think that's kind of an anti-woman thing, actually, in a way. It's like if you do what you want with your body, porn, whatever, however you want to express yourself, that's your business. But she's basically arguing that women have a right, and she's not advocating for prostitution. She's saying women have a right to show their bodies if they want and express them how they want. It's our creative free expression. Don't tell us we can't. But the underlying point that I think is so relevant is she's saying two things. One, all creators are affected by this censorship process. And two, that we need to have a better dialogue around this. And my point has always been that the cancel culture becomes dangerous for two reasons. And boobs, says Monkey Arms. It's all about the boobs. It's all about the boobs. I used to do a show for a while, which was all about thinking about how sex is in our culture. And I did it with a woman who'd been a pretty well-known porn star at the time. And we would talk about this a lot. The show was called Sex Think. And it was about thinking. It wasn't about having sex. And, it wasn't meant to be crass. It was actually like a really thoughtful, intellectual show about it. She was getting her degree in psychology, and, we'd get really into the issues. But the point always came up about this freedom of expression. And many people in the adult industry get shut down all the time, even if they don't violate content standards. They also get discriminated on outside of that. Like you'll ask adult performers how hard it is to get a bank account. Often banks won't work with them. Companies sometimes won't. And I don't mean for advertising. I mean literally for getting a job going forward. It's like you're a felon. And yet, 80% of the world's looking at the porn. So where's the double standard there? It's the same kind of argument when you get around to prostitution. It's like, basically, again, won't get into legalizing or not legalizing. I'm a big legalize most things, legalize drugs, legalize prostitution, and then regulate them, make them safer. I think that's an ultimately safer way to do it. But Julia Rose's point is merely let us have the freedom, the platform to express what we want. Stop telling us we can't. This goes way beyond the left-right divide around censoring in politics. That's the tip of the iceberg. As the censorship starts sweeping in, everybody can get swept up in it. Right now, it may be more conservative viewpoints. It also, is now going to start spreading. In the case of Julia Rose and many people on Instagram, if your content in Instagram's Facebook, and Facebook's very family-friendly, squeaky clean, I get it. But her point is, Playboy's up there, and we're no different than Playboy. In fact, we think our content is less so than Playboy. And anybody who would look at a Playboy knows Playboy is pretty squeaky clean. I mean, you can basically see as much on, most any cable drama show. Rabasi 26. I don't think I'm making it more political than it is. I'm actually going the other way. Appreciate the comment, but I think it is political if you mean left right. I don't think it's left right political. Political if I think it has to do with she's an activist in a sense, and for her this wasn't just about money. This was about freedom of expression. And many people in that community, in the adult community, have argued they should have the room to have more freedom of expression. Artists for a long time have argued that. If you go back, the cancel culture back in the day was really aimed at more, left of center type artists who try to put museum pieces in and put things up that, did something with Jesus and a cross. And people were like, that's blasphemous. It can't be shown. Take it down. Films that were censored. Censorship has certainly not been mostly about conservative or right-leaning politics until pretty recently. Censorship leaned heavily on anything that stepped outside society's social values and mores. And that's where I have a problem with it, because that's where it starts spreading. So, and we got a lot to get to, so I'm going to kind of move it along. So interestingly enough, what do you do about censorship? And censorship is not just telling you can't have a view. Censorship can be deplatforming you, which is what's happening to Julia Rose, is she's being deplatformed for violating content standards that she claims I didn't violate, and my content is no different than other brands that you leave up on the platform. That's a valid point. Go and look at her stuff. Go and look at their stuff. It's not different. So in Florida, Governor DeSantis, and again, it's not about left or right. He's a Republican governor. A lot of people on the left don't like him, but he just put out a bill which has to go through the legislature. The distinction between regulation and censorship. So, all right, Tyler. So before we get to this video, I will, but the video kind of ties into it. So to me, again, censorship and regulation, interesting distinction. I think censorship is when you limit somebody's viewpoints based on what they're saying or not saying. If you're, and it's not about being discriminatory, it can be, but censorship is saying you can't show something, you can't do it. Regulation is, to me, managing the overall process of how that is allowed. In other words, what kind of standards do we set? What kind of consistency do you have to have? Can you pick and choose who you want? Can you pull her down? Can you pull Shag Mag and Julia Rose down, but not Playboy, based on the same set of standards? So regulation forces a conformity or an equality of it. Ties right into what Governor DeSantis just did in proposing this new bill. The bill is basically a bill that attempts to do three things: ensure data privacy protection. So that's the idea of your data is being mined. Remember, I've talked about this before. When you look, the data that goes way beyond just the censorship type stuff. I mean, Facebook's entire algorithmic model is based on mining your data, getting as much of your private stuff as possible to then send you targeted ads and to sell that data to make money.
Rob,
that's their motto.
Rob, we just got blocked and censored by Facebook right now for sharing into the groups.
We did?
Yeah, I shared it about 15, 20 times, like way below our average.
Okay.
And we just have a big old, big old shot.
Okay.
Big old.
That's not about what we were saying. That's about we shared too much, we think. Who knows?
No, it was 20. It was like 15, 20.
Okay.
I think it's just probably about the topic that they don't like.
Okay, so Facebook's not hearing this now. So we'll have to restream this on Facebook, Crafty. So again, did I just get blocked? I don't know. I mean, we just got pulled down off Facebook. Why? One of our biggest viewing platforms. Why did we get pulled down? Not really sure. Crafty shared this at 15, 20 times into groups, but that's fine. You can share up to 60 times. Was it what I was talking about? Was what I was saying? Is it that I called out Facebook? I don't know. I'm literally calling out Facebook right now. Maybe. And again, you could say, am I a conspiracy theorist? I don't know. It is a little odd that I get blocked right as I'm talking about Facebook and Instagram censoring something. Instagram's owned by Facebook, owns Instagram. I'm talking about why they shouldn't be censoring Julia Rose. I'm talking about how Facebook's model is to steal your data. Did I get blocked because of that? I didn't get blocked from oversharing. Interesting point. We'll keep going. We'll reshare this on Facebook later. DeSantis' point is your privacy matters. And your privacy shouldn't, and Apple, Tim Cook from Apple has said the same thing, right? He's kind of railed on Facebook because Apple set a new privacy standard, right? Which is that all app developers have to ask you if they can take your data. Facebook says that's going to hurt the small businesses. And Apple's like, how's it going to hurt small businesses? All we're doing is saying you got to ask them. You develop an app and put it on the App Store. You have to ask people, is it okay that we take your data? Right now, they don't ask, they just take it. You got to give them a choice. Seems reasonable. But so data privacy protection. And then the second part of the bill is to stop tech companies from interfering in elections in a way that's unfair. And basically, you have to be fair to both sides. But what's interesting is the bill allows for civil suits. So it allows for you to actually have a civil suit and sue the company, going around what they can. And the attorney general can do it as well. We got a real short clip here of Ron DeSantis on Fox sort of talking about it.
privacy and their
Yes.
data. I think most folks want protections from being deplatformed. And it's not just being banned from Twitter or something. As we've seen, these companies can act, they can collude, they can deny you, if you're a small business, of payment processing,
Right.
the ability to use email and text. So what, you go to a rally that they don't like, or you engage in wrongthink, and all of a sudden your flower business is decapitated for a month because they take action.
So again, you know, point is, and again, if you take the politics out of this, the point is that being deplatformed for any reason, and if you're not deplatformed, if you say or do certain things that go against the grain of what they've decided is okay, they can literally affect you in downstream ways, and that's a dangerously powerful and complex problem. And it's not conspiracy to suggest that we're kind of an avalanche is coming. It's snowballing bigger and bigger and bigger. And the effect of that is increasingly, I mean, you go now, they would never try to cut off my credit or affect my business relationships or block my ads, but they already do. And they can continue to. And it's not just about right-wing views. That's what I want to keep saying. It's not about right or left-wing views. It's about anything that they deem doesn't fit the narrative that they want right now, or that could be going against them. I mean, it's still in my head right now that we got pulled off Facebook. Like, why? Why? We're here on Facebook. Thank you, Tyler. It's because of Tyler. Tyler saved us. Good. That was because Tyler, that was bugging me. That I was like, why did I get pulled down for talking about Facebook? Now, this, of course, is going to only prove to Tyler that I'm a conspiracy freak about it. And I'd have to admit, point taken in that case, Tyler, one for you. You know what, Monkey Arms? I anticipated this. I did. I anticipated one of you saying this, and I have a response to it. I didn't show the clip from Fox News to just show a clip from Fox News. And I'm going to show a funny clip later on from Newsmax that makes the opposite point of them canceling someone. I showed it because it was the only clip I had of Ron DeSantis talking about it, and I like to give a tiny thread of the person saying it. Again, I'm not, and Tucker Carlson's obviously on the right. But my point is, I think the bill is a good idea wherever it's coming from, and I think more states should do it. I think California should do it. I think every state should start creating a thing where you have the right to bring a civil suit if you feel your privacy has been violated without your permission, or if you think a platform's acted unfairly. You should have the right to bring a suit. You can always lose the suit, but you should have the right to bring it. So I don't think that's a Republican or Democrat. But again, Monkey Arms, point taken. Let me shift gears here, because now we're going to get where it gets really fun and heated up. Thank you, Tyler. I love you back. Tyler blows me up with more. He keeps my brain going at 4 a.m. with all these comments, and beats the heck out of me with them. And then it's like, but I like your show. So I love that, because I like that back and forth. Thanks, Monkey Arms. But I knew someone would say it. So let me move on to where this gets really interesting. So Morgan Wallen. Do you guys know who Morgan Wallen is? He started out on The Voice in like 2007. Well, it was a while back, and he was in Adam Levine's group, and he didn't win. But then he released an album, did okay, not bad, like decent. And then last year, 2020, he became the country music artist, new artist of the year, the CMA Awards New Artist of the Year. And his new album that came out this year has a top Billboard top 10 song called 7 Summers. Blowing up. The guy's blowing up everywhere. He goes out with friends, partying, in Nashville, and ends up coming home, being really loud and obnoxious and drunk. And the neighbors are annoyed, so they take a video of him walking into the house with his friends. And here's what he says. It's bleeped out, don't worry.
Take care of this pussy.
Hey, y'all too?
Hey, take care of this pussy ass motherfucker.
Oh,
Hey, Gracie, take care of this pussy ass nigga.
Okay, you all heard it right there. That's it. That's all we need of the video. You heard it. That's him. That is Morgan Wallen. Now, let's be clear. We'll talk about what happened to him in a second. I want to be really clear about something. Well, let me be clear about a lot of things here. I'm not defending what he said. I want to point out the context. he is saying it about a friend of his. So he's not saying he wants to go beat somebody up. Doesn't make it okay, by the way. But I'm saying he's actually, just so you know, referring to a friend of his in the car, like take care of him, not like hurt him, like he's drunk, go help him. But he said it. You see it right there. Pussy ass N-word. Overnight, he's literally been completely canceled. I don't mean a little bit, I mean 100%. iHeart, Cumulus Media pulled all his stuff down. iHeart's the biggest radio station chain in the country, pulled all his stuff down. CMT pulled all his appearances, all his performances off the air. His label, Big Loud, drops him. The distributor, Republic Records, drops him. He is canceled across the board. I am not defending what he said. I want to be clear. I don't talk like that. I've never done that. I've never been one to throw the N-word out. I've heard a lot of people do it, not in a mean way. Around people in the hip hop community, I've heard white and black people refer to their friends with the N-word, and to me with the N-word in a friendly way. Is that okay? I don't know. I've had this discussion. I had Professor Armour from USC, who's, one of the leading, diversity activists, and he's a law school professor. And, we had a whole show on it about the N-word, and why. He has a book about the N-word and why it's not okay for a white person to use the N-word. And I 100% respect him. We had a whole dialogue about it. I'm not defending Morgan Wallen saying that. Not okay. I don't like it. I don't like when people do it. I want to be clear. He wasn't saying it to put someone down. It's referring to a friend of his. I don't know if the person was white or black, but it doesn't really matter. But he said it, and he was drunk and being obnoxious. He said it. He chose to say it. It's on him. The reaction is massive. Mickey Guyan, who's a country artist, a black country artist, had this to say about it. And just so you know, Mickey Guyan she was a song called Black Like Me. She's the first black female solo artist to get a Grammy nomination in the country music category. There's not a lot of black country music singers or black women country music singers. So Crafty, can we pop up her quote? She says, oh, sorry, that's a different one. That's just them saying they're taking him down. This is the quote from the singer. Right before that, can we see? Do we have something before that? Here we go. When I read comments saying this is not who we are, I laugh because that's exactly who country music is. I've witnessed it for 10 years. You guys should just read some of the vile comments hurled at me on a daily basis. It's a cold, hard truth to face, but it's the truth. She's referring because a well-known country singer came out right afterward and said that's not who country music is. And Mickey Guyan says, you know what? It's exactly what country music is. I see it all the time as a black artist. And I get it. She's like, this is who we are. Do we have the comment he makes, Crafty, what he says in response, his thing? Yeah, Wallen says to TMZ, I'm embarrassed and sorry. I used an unacceptable and inappropriate racial slur that I wish I could take back. There are no excuses to use this type of language ever. I want to sincerely apologize. Okay. So here's my point about this, and here's where I'm going with this. I don't believe him for a second. This thing where you say something bad, and as you're getting canceled, you take it all bad. You go, it's not me. Thanks, Tyler, for redemption. We're going to get to that in a second. You say it's not me. This isn't who I am. I should never have used that word. This is the problem. Because he's getting a fear of being completely canceled, he goes, oh, God, I'm so sorry. I never should have said it. That's not who I am. It's not how I should talk. Give me a break. It's exactly who you are. You think that's the first time you said that? Are you kidding me? This is who you are. This is how you talk. I don't know what that says about your character, but that is who you are. You use that word frequently and casually. That is exactly who you are. And if you shouldn't, if you shouldn't use that word, then you may learn that now, but don't pretend like you're so shocked it's not who you are. It's never appropriate to use that word. It's clearly appropriate for you to use the word casually all the time. You just don't do it when there's a camera on you and a microphone and you didn't know someone was videoing you from across the street because you were being loud, drunk, and obnoxious. And my point is, because he's being canceled, when we cancel people wholeheartedly, their response is to say, I should never have said it. I take it all back. I'll do whatever amends I have to make. It's not who I am. They're not changing. They're just basically scared and going to say whatever they have to say. We have one more comment here. We popped it up for a second. It's Mickey Gay, and again, she's saying her response. It says, she said, and if we could see it, Crafty, because I'm not going to remember it. No, not that one. It's a short one. Here she goes. Mickey Gahan says people need to be given a chance to change, including Morgan, and hopes he sees the error in his ways, adding that tossing someone out permanently isn't a solution. And here's where I'm going with this, because that's what we're doing. He was overnight completely canceled. I don't mean a little bit. His label drops him. His distributor drops him. CMT wipes all appearances that he's ever had on the show and performances off. They take all the past ones off. Forget about putting new ones on. The biggest record radio chain in the country pulls all his songs off, as well as a second major chain. He's literally cut boom, 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 boom for saying something that was stupid, was not meant in a hateful way. And I'm not defending the speech, but I'm saying he wasn't saying it to stir up hate. He was saying it, calling a friend that word. And if he shouldn't do that, he's not going to learn by being absolutely canceled. Just not going to happen. When we absolutely cancel people, all we do is shove them into the corner. They just go in the corner. It's like our refusal to want to talk about it. I even thought about before I did this show, how do I talk about this? The refusal to feel you can talk about it makes people just hide. A poll recently showed that basically over half of the country, 60%, both Democrats and Republicans, fear sharing their views for fear of being ostracized or punished in some way. So it's not just on the right. People on the left fear sharing them too. The notion that people are scared to say things inadvertently, incorrectly, inappropriately, because they won't get a chance to fix it. They won't get a chance to, we won't talk about it. We won't go, let's have a dialogue about why so many people use the N-word casually, not definition, but it's not being used that way. That they are using it in a way that's colloquial, and that may not be okay, as Professor Armour schooled me when on my show and saying, here's why that's not okay. But we won't have that conversation. There he is. That's his book, by the way. That book is not me. That's his book, and he owns that name. And his publisher didn't want to let him publish that book if he put that title on it. But he's like, that's the title of the book because I want to talk about the word and what it means. And he's a character. I mean, you look at him, the giant afro, he's like 6'5", and he did that intentionally because he wants to make a point. So we need to start having the conversation. Just canceling people, we go nowhere. We go absolutely nowhere when we just cancel people. So let's go one step further here. So The Bachelor this week, Matt James, The Bachelor, is black. And the girl, he sort of said, something's happening. She's at the top of the list. We really, if something's, gelling here, this might be it. This is the special one. Rachel Kirkconnell, suddenly gets blown up by Bachelor Nation because she's accused. A girl goes on TikTok, Maddie Beaster, who's same age as her. It's their mid-20s. So they were in high school together, and says that Rachel's friend group harassed her for dating a black guy when she was in high school. And that Rachel, comes from a pretty racially divided county, and that the friend group would pick on people for dating black guys. And she goes on TikTok and tells his story. And then other people come out and say the same thing, her friend group. Now, they're not clear how much it was her or her friends, but either way, she wasn't stopping them for picking on them for dating black guys. And then goes further. And Crafty, can we pop up some of those pictures we have? This is stuff that was posted on TikTok by another user pointing out. So this is the users in the bottom right there, showing Rachel dressed in Pocahontas style. So she says she looked at her stuff and she has supported QAnon theories. She's supported Trump and MAGA stuff. And there's the MAGA hat. And she's tweeted liking or supposedly liking racist tweets or gotten racist texts from her friend group. And there again is more appropriation. And the TikTok person talks about how this is cultural appropriation too. I don't know Rachel. I don't know what her deal is. I'm guessing she and her friends were not very nice in high school and probably did say the things that they got accused of saying. Did she grow up and realize that that's stupid? She lived in a pretty racially divided community. She grew up and realized, hey, it's good to date people who aren't your same skin color. She just on The Bachelor to just like get fame and hopefully fortune, pretending to fall in love with the Black Bachelor. I don't know. But I do know that canceling her won't accomplish anything. We won't open her mind or anybody else's mind if we do. And the Bachelor's Black. So what did he have to say about it? What did Matt James have to say about it? Well, Matt James came out and said, basically, you know what? I don't know the truth of where this goes, but let's give her a chance. Let's give her a chance to show who she is. You know, he pointed out what you say on social media can come back to haunt you. And by the way, it does. I mean, you're teenagers. Teenagers do and say things all the time. But she shouldn't be canceled, certainly for liking MAGA, for supporting Trump, or because her parents are conservative, which is the TikToker points out. And even if they did pick on girls in high school who were dating Black guys, that's worth pointing out. But maybe she's changed, and we're going to even give her a chance. And what Matt James says, The Bachelor says is, you know, do we have the quote actually, Crafty, from him? Yeah, he says, you got to be really careful. And he says, rumors are dark and nasty and can ruin people's lives. So I would give people the benefit of the doubt, and hopefully she will have her time to speak on that. I thought that was interesting. Rumors are dark and nasty. And they are. We don't know what's true. Give her the benefit of the doubt, he's saying, before you judge her. Do we give people the benefit of the doubt anymore? Do we just automatically start canceling them? We just start lining up the things they've done to cancel them. That's what I think it's sort of coming to. And that's what's scary to me. Again, it's not about whether it's okay to say, I hate bullying to begin with. Bullying drives me insane. It did an entire show on Fox about bullying. And, you know, a kid on the show who literally had been bullied to the extent that he tried to hang himself with his underwear. And he was a little mentally slow, and his mom was overbearing. This kid had been bullied so bad he had no self-esteem left. It wasn't about being white or black. He was from the town that, you know, Boys Don't Cry was made about. And he bullied to relentlessly. I'll pick that up in a second, Monkey Arms. Appreciate that comment. Leave it there for a second, Crafty. So bottom line is just a story about this kid. Just interesting. He's on the show, and I look at because I'm all about trying to create a dialogue. And I look as he's talking, and I look at our stage manager. And our stage manager is this big tattooed Harley riding mean MFer. Like, he was not a nice human. He was a jerk to everyone, except for me, because I could get him fired like that because I was host of the show. And I looked at his face, and he looked so contorted watching this kid. I pull him off the floor. He's like, what? Because he's not on camera. He's a stage guy. He's managing the stage. And I put him on camera right in the middle, and I'm like, what is going on for you? You look completely like torn up. And he doesn't say anything. I'm like, you might as well tell me. I got a camera on you. And he looks at that kid, this 15-year-old kid, and says, I was the guy who did that to kids like you in high school. And right now, I said, what do you feel? What are you feeling right now? And he said, right now, I hate myself. I hate myself. And he looked at that kid and he said, you need to know you are not the problem. People like me are. That guy had a chance to reflect and address by watching it and own who he was and have a coming to Jesus in that moment and go, oh my God, this is what I did to kids. I hate myself right now. That's where we need people to go. Canceling them doesn't get them there. And in fact, I had that kid walk out to this guy, this huge guy, and this little kid. And I said, what do you want to say to him right now? Come up here. You can say whatever you want to him right now. I'm right next to you. You say whatever you need to say. And you know what that kid did? He put his arms out, hugged this huge guy, and said, it's okay. That dude started crying. I did too. I still get choked up. Like, it was like, oh my God. Crowd went crazy. 150 people in the audience, literally. And this kid was like people like me. Like, I was like, of course they like you. They love you. You're like a hero. And that guy was like, if anybody ever messes with you, I'm giving you my phone number and I will fly out there and beat the crap out of him. My point is, When we cancel people, when we isolate them, they don't see the wrong of their ways. They just hold it inside and get more convinced they're right. When we force it into a conversation, into a dialogue, when we open it up, we get a chance to help people change their minds, see what they did that was wrong, see how they can be better. Isn't that what we want? Monkey arms, the pendulum will swing back. I think a lot of people on the left are sick of cancel culture. And I don't know, though, Monkey arms, if it will swing back. I mean, I used to say it will, but I worry that it's actually not swinging back at all. I think swinging back is going to swing back and hit the left. Like it's already swinging all around us. I mean, I don't know, swinging back. I get what you're saying. It'll come back to where we stopped doing it. But social media has accelerated that. The speed with which we can send out a message, cancel somebody, and get everybody to agree and get everybody, get the rumor going true or not, and get everybody on the same page where everybody's scared to not cancel you. Everybody's scared not to throw you out. The company's got to get rid of you. They got to. Do you think the country music industry doesn't know this goes on all the time? They shocked. They shocked at Morgan Wallen. Like, oh my God, we didn't know. We're done with you. Come on. They knew. How many artists they have like that? That's Mickey Guyan's point. Like it's go all around Nashville in the country music scene. They just didn't want to get in trouble. So they're like, drop him. It's the knee-jerk reaction. I don't know if we do swing back. Here's what I do know. Do you guys know who Audrey Neil Edwards is? I bet you don't. I didn't. A lot of people don't. Audrey Neil Edwards. Yeah. Money talks. I agree with you, Monkey Arms. Bill Maher is immune. Yes. Bill Maher is immune because he's been on for so long. And I don't know. It's a unique position. It's hard to cancel people after a certain point. Joe Rogan's kind of immune too. Yeah. You know what, Monkey Arms? It's funny you say that. And Crafty, Crafty's thumbing it up. I've thought about it, Monkey Arms. I've thought about that I should do a show called something like Let's Talk About It. That's a pretty bad name. I'll ask you guys for name suggestions, where it's basically when you've been canceled, let's come on and talk about it. Let's have the conversation. Let's have the conversation with you about what you did, why you did it. Let's have the conversation with the people that are offended by it directly, who are hurt by it, and let's have it out and see. And let's discuss it and see what kind of light we can shed on it. Because wouldn't that make it better? Like I said, canceling ain't going to change anything, except the person will swear that they've seen the wrong of their ways, which they haven't. I don't think Morgan Wallen realizes he was a horrible human being and should never have done it. He's probably saying to his friends, Jesus, I said it. We say it all the time. I was saying it to a friend of mine. I didn't mean anything. Now I got to pretend I did. Like, it doesn't accomplish anything if he really shouldn't be doing it. Audrey Neil Edwards. Audrey Neil Edwards was still alive, actually. 15 years old. This takes it right down the street from me, St. Augustine. St. Augustine, I'm in Jacksonville. Straight down right now, and straight down this half an hour away. St. Augustine was probably the first, they think one of the first places the slaves, it's actually named after a black man, but they think it's one of the first places slaves were actually brought into the U.S. It has a long history of racial discord violence. A deep, troubling one. Robert Halen, who was a big civil rights activist, he's a dentist, was almost burned alive to death. A black family in 1963 trying to integrate 9 years after the historic Supreme Court decision to demand integration of schools. They're one of the first families to try integrating in Florida. Their car is firebombed. Another family's house is firebombed. There was a guy named Sheriff Lowe Davis. He used cattle prods and German shepherds. What do you think he used them for? To break up riots? No, to stop peaceful protests. I mean, it's Northern Florida and St. Augustine, a long, deep history of racial division. Any of you who watch some of my town hall stuff, we've talked about that. And it's a lingering thing that we're trying to fix today, right? So Audrey Neil Edwards is a 15-year-old girl. And she and three friends, the NAACP Youth Committee, organized as part of a sit-in in 1963 to go into a Woolworths and order food because blacks can't go in and do it. For whites only. They're arrested. They don't get the food. They order. They're arrested. Oddly, the sheriff, Lowe Davis, has a black deputy arrest them. And they're put in jail for 6 months. 6 months. These are teenagers. The judge gives them a choice. Have your parents sign a thing that say you won't protest anymore or go to jail. They beg their parents, these brave kids, don't sign. And they go to jail. And they don't just go to jail. They jail's where they start. There's like it's called like the Florida Reform School for boys and Florida Reform School for girls. They send them there. And that's not just like juvie hall. That's like hard labor. You know, Audrey talks about how her mom came and would see her and cry because their knees were bloody from working. They literally were put in work camp at 15 for a non-violent sit-in protest. Now, you don't know who she is, but people then did. Martin Luther King, actually, when he was in Florida, asked to meet her and met with her. And Reggie Jackson, you know, who was both a civil rights hero and a baseball legend, flew her up to New York to meet with her. She impacted them. She's largely forgotten. She's the only living member of those four. And the two guys never spoke about it. That's how traumatizing it was. She talks about how to this day, her whole life, she had problems getting jobs because she had a criminal record for a nonviolent sit-in. That's the state of race relations in the 1960s in America. When she was in the police car being taken to the reform school, the sheriff deputy said to the other woman, you know what, we could murder these two girls, say they tried to escape, and no one would care. That's why the N-word is so powerful and dangerous and harmful. As a white person, you can't understand it. You can't know it. But what I can know is that racism today, racism is better than it was, but there's still systemic racism. There's still underlying racism. And we're not getting rid of it by canceling people who use the N-word or wear blackface, especially if they don't mean it in an offensive way or don't even know why it's offensive or sing along to the words of a song. In the Wayans Brothers movie, White Chicks, we have a little fun clip of it. There's a scene where the white chicks are driving and they're singing along to that song, Vanessa, whatever her name is, song. Crafty, play the clip better than me singing it. Only played the middle of that clip. I ain't playing the whole clip. We talked about it. What happens in that clip, right? They're singing on and I will boom. And then she switches to the rap song and they're saying the N-word. And the one girl says the N-word and they're like, you said the N-word? And the other one goes, well, nobody's watching. And then they all start singing it. Well, okay. First of all, that movie is written by two black guys. And it's a classic. It's an iconic film, but you couldn't make that today. You couldn't make that scene today. You couldn't even laugh at that scene today. And that's scary. Yes, Black Lives Matter back in 63, Black Lives Matter 2021. Well, sadly, Tyler, it's where I would say Black Lives Matter didn't matter back in 63. They didn't matter at all to most people. And it's brave activists who did try to make it matter. But my point is that we're not changing. And what Audrey Neal Edwards did was so courageous, literally for a teenager. And she was fighting for that. And the progress we've made and the progress we still have to make doesn't get made when we just cancel people, especially just whether they said a word or didn't even know what they were doing or did something in high school. We're not making progress. And yet there really still is progress to be made around race. So your point that Black Lives Matter still is an issue today, it is. Systemic injustice, however you want to call it, police brutality. You know, again, I've talked about these things. I did a town hall on it. Did 2 town halls on it. It does matter. But we're not moving the ball forward by silencing people, especially if they're not even saying it in a way that they mean to be harmful, much less the people who are harmful. What about those people? They really need to understand what they're doing. Silencing doesn't get us there. So let me take this down the last stretch as it's going fast. This spreads beyond any one side. I promised a Newsmax clip. So the Mike Lindell, the MyPillow founder, he's a kook, goes on Newsmax, to talk about being canceled because his accounts got pulled down because he keeps saying the election was stolen. And he starts talking about the election machines being rigged. You know, this whole thing, I said from the minute it happened, the machines weren't rigged. Everyone said, there's evidence. There's no evidence. Oh, they have the evidence. Show the evidence. Oh, they can't. I was like, come on. You can't keep saying you have evidence that you don't have. Like, either show it or shut up. Well, Mike Lindell is not shut up. He keeps talking about it. And he goes on Newsmax to talk about being canceled. And he goes on this voter machine thing. And the Newsmax anchor, the right-wing Newsmax anchor, tries to stop him. And he keeps talking. They dilute his mic, and he's just talking away like this as the anchor saying, Newsmax has made clear we have never substantiated that. We see no evidence of that. We believe the election's legitimate. And this is how it ends. This is how it comes to an end.
I don't want to have to keep going over this.
Actually,
we at Newsmax have not been able to verify any of those allegations that you're
Mike, hold on a second. Everybody hold on a second. Mike, hold on 1 second. Let's talk a little bit about just what is happening overall in terms of censorship.
Cancel out my company and myself. In this country, it's cancel culture.
Oh, man. That is just classic. I mean, the Newsmax anchor, first he asked the producers, can we get out of this? And when they don't take him out, he said, I want to talk about this. And then he gets up and walks out. Now, two things are going on here. And I love it because I want to make fun of the right craziness too, right? And Mike Lindell is just in that craziness. Now, do I think he has a right to talk about the voting machine stuff on Twitter? I do. I actually do. I don't care how crazy your stuff is. I think you get to talk about it. I think we get to decide. I've said that before. You don't decide I can't talk about it because you've decided it's not true, even if it isn't true. If I want to say the world's flat, I should get to say the world's flat. Don't stop me. But the Newsmax guy walks out because he's terrified of getting sued. It's back to the point. It's all about money. Newsmax is going to get sued like crazy for having said that they thought that the machines were rigged when they weren't. So he's like, no, I read a statement. Newsmax doesn't. Again, he's not being honest. The news anchor's not being honest. I don't know what he really thinks. What he really thinks is, I don't want to get us in trouble and get sued, and I don't want my career ruined because I'm talking to this guy about the Dominion machines being rigged when they weren't. So I'm going to walk right off the set. He doesn't even want to talk about it. Is he? I don't know, Monkey Arms. I mean, I don't agree. I don't think he's mainstream. I'm going to put him in fringe. I'm sorry, but okay. You know, if you want to say he's mainstream, I mean, you can. I don't think he reflects most mainstream or moderate Republicans. I don't know. He certainly doesn't reflect anybody in the center or the slight right of center. You know, he's a hardcore Trumper, and he believes the deepest of the conspiracy theories. I'm going to give him the right to do that. That's a right he should have, and I don't think platforms should deplatform him. That's why I like that bill in Florida. You don't like it, you can sue the platform, and if you win, then you were right, and if you lose, then too bad. Put up your money or shut up, kind of thing. But it goes both ways, right? So the Lincoln Project, because you want to say he's that, like the Lincoln Project, which is the other side, right? John Weaver, who was the co-founder of the Lincoln Project, comes out that he was soliciting young men for sex and using his the offer of work in exchange for sex and harassing them. It wasn't 1, 2, 3. It was a lot. So the Lincoln Project removes him from it, scrubs his name just a little bit out of things, and then doesn't talk about it. They go on MSNBC 17 times and never get asked. George Conway finally, on his 18th time on MSNBC, gets asked about it. And here's what he says, basically. Awful and appalling. He didn't know him very well. We got a little more than this, right, Crafty? We got a couple other things. Yeah, it's terrible and awful and appalling and unfathomable. I didn't know John very well. Frank, I only spoke to him a couple times on the phone early on. It's almost, I don't even know what to say. It's just terrible. It leaves me speechless, frankly. Okay. Really? Really? You didn't know him? You co-founded the thing with him. You co-wrote an op-ed in the New York Times with him. You didn't know him very well? I mean, this is the same process. It's like he's being canceled. This is a guy on the left who did something bad, really bad, soliciting minors, and not all minors. Some were just young men, but using sex as a power tool to, I'll give you a job if you have sex with me. Not okay. And Weaver's defense, you know what? I admit it. He's married. I'm gay. And that, okay. So that's why you get to do it. You're throwing gay people under the bus now? Okay, you're gay. You're living a straight man's life, but you're secretly gay. And that's the reason why you propositioned and used your power position inappropriately to say, if you have sex with me, I'll give you a job. I mean, nobody called him out for that, by the way. Nobody called him out for saying, what do you mean saying you're gay? Like somehow, what is that your excuse? I was straight. I was hiding my gayness. So, I mean, you could say if you were having an affair with another man and you could be like, I was married, but gay. So having an affair, but how does being gay justify your closet gay justifies you using your power inappropriately and abusively, whether with underage boys or whether with of age men and using it as a power tool to extortion for sex for work? The gay part. But the fact that George Conway pretends he doesn't know him is what's really disturbing. And it's the same thing. I'm going to just pretend I don't know him. I didn't know him very well. It's totally lacks credibility instead of coming out and having a conversation about it, a real dialogue about it. You know, nope, horrible. It's appalling. I barely knew the guy. And the Lincoln Project scrubs little bits of him. They didn't get canceled as hard, say, as Wallen, as Morgan Wallen's going to be canceled. But it's not about that. It's either way they're getting canceled, and either way the reaction is everyone to step back. I didn't know him. It's terrible. And we don't talk about it. We don't talk about it. And to me, that is the problem. We don't have the dialogue that we have to have. We scrub you clean. We try to erase that it happened. We pretend we didn't know you. We disassociate with you. We cancel everything. You apologize for everything. You vow to start a new life, and we move on, leaving pockets of the very thing we think is wrong, solidified, deepening, and people pulling into their little shells and going, I'm not going to say what I really think. I'm not going to say what I really think, which only means they'll think it harder. Extreme fringes, fast spreading, maybe 5 to 10%. Yeah, I agree with that. Mike is far right. Mike Lindell is far right. And I also think that the fringes on both sides are extreme and small. I think maybe 10%, yeah, on each side. I think the 80% of the country isn't. And I don't even think that the majority of the country is a fan of this massive canceling thing. It would seem like it is, given how widespread it is, but I think it spreads like a virus on social media. It blows up. I think, Matt James, The Bachelor's comment, rumors can fly and it can be very nasty. And yes, what you said on social media or what you do on social media can hurt you, but we need to be careful with how we just explode these things. And once it gets out there, the big companies just covering their butts, as I think it was Tyler said, saving money, or Monkey, whoever said it, saving money. I'm determined to cover my butt. We don't care. We'll cut all ties. Does that reflect what most people think? No. Otherwise, most people wouldn't be saying they're scared to say what they think on both sides of the political spectrum for fear of having retaliation of some kind. It's just what happens. I don't think the majority of the country is actually a fan of massive cancel culture. It just seems like it. But a majority of the country is feeling they have to be silent. And that's what's so frightening and scary to me. Here's my last thought on this. Low-level, I don't get it, Monkey Arms. That one's over my head. Low-level coffee boy, Republican playbook. You have to explain that to me. Fair point, Tyler. I don't have a problem with holding people accountable. And your fair point, I'll leave it on that. Cancel culture and holding people accountable aren't the same thing. And I'm not labeling everything as cancel culture. But I think to deny that there's a wave of that, right? So you could hold Wallen accountable for what he said, and you wouldn't have to literally scrub him off of everything. You could hold the John Weaver accountable. Now again, if what he did was criminal, you could hold him accountable for that too. You could hold people accountable, and that's different than completely canceling them. But we are in a wave of massive canceling. We deplatform you. We scrub you. We remove any evidence of you. We shut off pathways for you. We pile on. Like, that is different than holding you accountable. And I said in the beginning of this, Wallen said what he said. He's accountable and responsible for that. At the end of the day, I don't feel sorry for him. If he screwed his career, that's on him. My bigger point is, I think it's dangerous when we start letting people's entire careers get screwed for saying one thing or doing one thing. Unless it's so egregious that you absolutely can't get a second chance. And yet we give almost everybody a second chance in this country. So, amen and our woman. Amen and our woman. That's what the chaplain did when they were bringing the House of Representatives in. Their first thing or whatever said amen and a woman, which was funny because amen is not a male thing. It's a Latin word that has nothing to do with gender. Last thought, guys. And here's where I want to take this. I did say I'm a fan of the bill that DeSantis is proposing, and I would like to see them in every state, regardless of political parties that run those states. But I would like to say something else to Governor Santos as well. Great that you're taking this action. Great that you're doing that. How about you do something like this? How about you pardon Audrey Evan Williams? How about you pardon that 60-something woman who to this day carries a conviction for a non-violent sit-in at a lunch counter? How about you pardon her tomorrow, wipe that slate clean, and show that you're not just on one side of the aisle? That's what I'd like to see. That would be leadership. That would be showing that you're not just about politicizing this. That kind of action is what we need from our leaders in both parties. Our governors, our president, our members of Congress, our state legislatures. We need to start seeing the bigger picture and taking the bigger actions. And for us, me included, I think we all got to just open the dialogue up even wider and start having the difficult, even awkward conversations. It's the only way we will ultimately get to be above them, to get to be above the actual things that are dragging us down, to get to be above the negative stuff that still is in our society. It won't go away by scrubbing it. It will go away by pushing it out into the light. Light always wins over the darkness. Rob Nelson, thanks for watching.